Hello class, we're going to continue our conversation we were having about proportionality. So we know two ratios are proportional if we can either find a scale factor that creates equivalent ratios, or we had that idea of finding the cross products or the butterfly method. So right away I know that these two ratios are proportional because I can find a scale factor that lets me multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number to get an equivalent ratio. We also talked about this idea of cross multiplying, where if I take the numerator and denominator of the opposite ratios and multiply them together, we should end up getting products that are the same. In this case, 2 times 10 gets me 20, and that's going to be equal to 5 times 4 because that is also equal to 20. Sometimes we can find those nice and easy scale factors, but other times we're going to have to use the cross multiplying method. So in this case here, we have 2/3 is equal to n over 16. There is no nice and easy way to find that scale factor, so looks like we're going to have to cross multiply here. 2 times 16 gets me 32. 3 times n gets me, well, I don't know what n is, so it has to be 3 times n. I could just leave it as 3n. And now, because it's a one-step equation, I'm going to divide by that coefficient, and I'm left with something that says n equals 32 over 3. A couple different ways to talk about 32 over 3. We could use, or we could leave it as 32 over 3. We could turn it into a mixed number, which would be 10 and 2/3. You could also turn it into a decimal using Desmos, which ends up getting you 10.6 repeating. But this is our answer, 32 over 3. There are a couple here that I want us to practice. Again, not all of these have those nice and easy cross-multiplying methods. So let's see what happens here. So 7 times 13. This is one of those that I don't know, so let's use Desmos to try to figure it out. 7 times 13 is 91. Okay. 9 times c, we can just leave that as 9c. And again, I'm in this situation where it's an equation, so I have to divide by my coefficient, and I'm left with c equals whatever 91 divided by 9 is. Let's check that out. 91 divided by 9 is, looks like it's 10.1 repeating. Awesome. Again, w over 15 equals 0.5 over 2. Looks like I'm going to need to do some kind of cross multiplying here. 15 times 0.5. Well, that's just really saying 15 divided by 2, so that gets me 7.5. And that's going to equal whatever 2 times w is, which in this case I have to leave as 2w. I'll divide both sides by 2, and I end up with w equals whatever 7.5 divided by 2 is, and if you're unsure, use your Desmos calculator, and you end up with 3.75. Let's just keep going. 3 over 8 equals x over 12. Let's start by cross multiplying. 8 times x is 8x. 3 times 12 is 36. Divide by your coefficient, and you end up with whatever 36 divided by 8 is, 4.5. So you'll notice all of these end up being the same kind of question, where you have your proportion, something's missing, find that scale factor or find your cross multiply, and you should be good to go. Last but not least, do our cross multiplying here. 14 times 20 is 280. 280 times t is 280t. We'll divide by our coefficient, and we end up with an answer of t equals 1, right? 280 divided by 280 is 1. We can see this really help us out when we have word problems. So I know it looks like a lot of words and a lot of trying to comprehend what's going on, but remember, we have that idea of a word ratio. So we can try to figure out the two quantities we're comparing first, set up our ratio, and then do exactly what we just did for those 4 problems to help us get the answer. So it says water was leaking from a faucet at a rate of 3 gallons every 4 minutes. So this part looks really important to me. 4 gallons in 3 minutes, or 3 gallons every 4 minutes. So I'm going to write down my ratio of gallons per minute. These are the two things I'm comparing here. Luckily for us, I already have a ratio of gallons to minutes. Looks like it's 3 gallons for every 4 minutes. Because it's a proportion, I know I'm going to need to have another ratio of gallons to minutes. I'm looking at this number here, 13 minutes for the faucet to stop leaking. So I'm going to put 13 minutes wherever I said minutes was going to go. In this case, it's the denominator. How much water was wasted? When it's asking us to solve for something, that's going to be our variable because we don't know what it is. Fill in our blank with our variable, and now we have something that looks like what we did up there. So we start by cross multiplying. We'll do 4 times x, which is 4x. 3 times 13, which ends up being 39. Divide by our coefficient again. So our answer is whatever 39 divided by 4 is. So let's just use our calculator real quick. And we get 9.75. So I'm going to leave the rest up to you guys. You can pause the video. You can work on these 4. Again, they are very similar to the ones we just did together. So use that cross multiplying, use your calculator to simplify, and I will give you guys the answers in class.